computer and then share the screen. Okay. All right, so back into Maya. So what I was saying was how important it is to have your character above the ground, above the grid, okay? Also, because we started my character from a box, now it thinks that the center of my character is the center of that box. So what I want to do is I want to go into modify center pivot, because it's going to be really nice to have actually this being treated like an entire character instead of only the box mattering, right? So here we are. Center pivot is somewhere here. Center pivot. So it goes here. And now I'm going to go in and add definition to the face, right? That's what we said we were going to do last class. So I'm going to do Control, Command, Shift, and zoom. Sorry, and click to zoom in. It doesn't seem to want to do it, so I'm going to come up with a different option. There we are. So what I need to do, okay, to do a good job, I need to make these, the sides, a little bit rounded, right? So one way to go is by right mouse click, say vertex, and do what we did last class, right? We go and select the vertex, and if we had selected it on the top view or something, we could have just clicked and dragged. Now notice that I still have that symmetry on. You see that when I clicked on one side, it seemed to also select the other side, except for this dude here. Isn't that interesting? Means this vertex, the very top vertex. So, okay, cool. So I have those like that. I have the symmetry on, so I can go back in here and say, okay, now that I selected stuff, I'm going to actually turn off the symmetry, for example. And you can decide, for example, if you want to scale these in, right? Because these face should not be that wide, right? So I'm going to scale these in a little bit, and I'm going to scale these in the other direction. So I'm starting to kind of give it more like a kind of a shape to it, a shape of the face. And you'll see that is really boxing the back too, so you probably would want to do that as well. And remember, when you select, it's very much faster if you select with the symmetry on, so you can select it on one side and it will select the other side as well. I'm using the X symmetry as we did last class, right? And I'm going to hit Q so I don't see the manipulator, because sometimes the manipulator goes in the way of my selecting and it bugs me. So the Q allows you to go into what you would call selection mode, this black arrow here, that though does not involve the manipulator. So you kind of want to go in there, at least this top part, and again, hit R and kind of, oh, wait, before I do anything else, I want to now go off the symmetry, hit R, and now you see the R is in the center as it should be. The reason why I showed up on this side is because I had the symmetry activated, and sometimes it gets in the way. So I'm basically doing what I did earlier, that is kind of scale things so that they kind of move a little bit. I kind of also would like, I'm going to hit W right now, would like to take these one down here, these vertices, I'm going to hit W, and select these so that I can move them. In fact, I'm going to select those two, the one above as well. Now, when I select something back here, I generally get out and spin things around to see if by accident I selected anything in the front, even though I have to admit Ted had taught me, and I haven't used it, I should use it more, a trick by which I could actually double click on here and choose, you know, this camera-based selection. It's kind of for this one. If you kind of check this, then it does allow you not to go through your character. But confess that I haven't used it enough that I'm going to use it now, but I still thank Ted for doing that. Because I always love to learn new tricks. As you can imagine, with Maya, there are always plenty of tricks to learn. So if any of you discover new tricks, please share them with me. I'm going to only be excited about it. Okay, so I'm going to actually select back here and move also things a little bit out, because I bet the back of his head is pretty flat. In fact, let me go in the side view that will help me out here. Yep, look at that. Control Shift, click and drag should allow you to zoom. No, instead of zooming, it's selecting more. I don't know why. It's supposed to zoom. It's always worked, but I need to check what I have. Oftentimes in Maya, you might have something activated that messes things up. So I want to push this back a little bit. And what am I doing in 3D? I'm moving the center part back. And maybe that's kind of how I want it. Another thing you could do is go in here, select this middle part, these middle ones, And I have the symmetry on, so selecting all around. And also this one, you can move it in or kind of manipulate it so that the head here starts becoming a little bit more round. Obviously, I have a massive problem up here, don't I? They're really as flat as it gets. That is not natural. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to actually still using the Maya, interface, the arrows, the X, Y, and Z arrows. I'm kind of starting to move things around and round things up just because right now my face is a box and that's not good. It's never good. So there's a little massaging that you oftentimes do so that your face kind of starts taking more like the shape of a face. And once your massaging is done is when you finally can go in and create the eye socket and everything else, things like that. So let me actually go back into my perspective view and starting to look better, but obviously it will take a little bit more effort. Like these front ones are all too flat for my taste. Sorry, every once in a while it's going to save. I'm going to hit Q. So what do I want to do here? Sorry, I'm sometimes asking myself, this is the chin, so I should tighten it up. I have selected the chin here, and I scaled it in. What do I want to do? I want to stick something out here, make it, because the front also is flat. You guys see this front, how flat it is? And maybe shouldn't be. But let's actually just dive in for a matter of time and create nose and eyes, and then we can go in and manipulate a little bit more, right? I mean, I guess we could do this and move it out a little bit. And move this one in a little bit, means give it a little bit more kind of like a shape. Anyway, so knowing that I have here something to start from, I don't like that this side is so wide and this one is so kind of like, so I'm going to go in here and select all of these. Oops, I just realized. Yeah, that I'm selecting the back as well. There's no good. So symmetry is off. Wait a minute, symmetry is off. So let me see one thing. Yeah, so I thought the symmetry was on for some mysterious reason. I'm going to select all these, just these three, maybe these four would be better, just for the sake of it, move it out a little bit. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I could have totally used symmetry now since I was talking about it. Sorry, guys, I completely spaced out on that. I was talking about symmetry, but then I completely forgot. So let's say that we want these to be the eyes. What I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to say, okay, which one are going to be the eyes and which one is going to be the nose? I want this to be the eye and this side to be the eye too, actually. So I'm basically starting to space things out. So I'm carving the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and everything that I want in there. It's kind of like the next step. All right. So let's say these are the eyes. So if they're the eyes, do I want the forehead to be a little bit more, sorry, I'm going to hit W, not Q. So I'm going to select this, hit Q, and then hold the Shift key and select these other ones. And I'm going to move it down a little bit because I want the forehead to be a little bit taller than the front part here, and this one to be a little bit smaller. Okay, so let me see if I messed anything up in the back. No, life is good. So is everybody with me right now? We're going to actually create the eyes, extrude the nose, and create the ears. So does anybody need any time, since I was kind of just going on and on, just saying, okay, you can do this and you can do that. Does anybody need any time?
Yeah, I was, so I didn't add as many edge loops on the face as you have, and I was trying to create some more, but it's not working well for me.
What is it doing that is not working?
Like when I try to select like a vertical edge, it wants to make an edge loop that's horizontal.
Oh yeah, you need to go and click on the opposite. Try to click on the opposite. So let's say if I wanted to add, let me actually do it. It might be a lot easier if I do it. So let's say I want to add an edge loop. If I click on this thing, on this one line, look how it's going to create the edge loop perpendicular to that line. Do you see that? Right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If I want it in the other direction, I'm going to do Command Z right now. In fact, maybe I should leave it because I can do the eye and those could be the eyebrows. Actually, I'm going to do Command Z and add it up here. Sorry. I want the eyebrows to be above. So I'm going to do this. So let's say I want it in this direction. I just click on this side and now I'm putting it in this direction. You see that? So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want the edge loop in the other direction, just click on the other, you know, it goes perpendicular to whatever you click on.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome. In fact, I'm going to add another edge loop for the mouth. Oops. What did I do? Sorry. I'm going to go in object mode. To add edge loop, you need to be in object mode. I'm not sure how I got out of object mode. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put, so this is the eyes, this is the nose. I'm going to put, this is the mouth. I'm going to do the mouth right there. Okay. So is everybody with me? We're going to be able, basically we're going to do eyebrows up here and the mouth down here. Does anybody needs time or you guys are more or less following?
I need a little bit of time.
Just a couple minutes, yeah.
All right, no problem. Let me pause the video. Start the, there we are. Sorry, Maya is asking me to save. That's totally fine. There we are. So I want to do the eyes. So I'm going to go in and we're going to use tools that we actually know. That is nice. I'm going to go in here. Sorry, I'm going to say I want faces selected. What's going on? So I have something on. Oh, you see, guys, that symmetry is messing things up. That means because I have that symmetry on, when I go in here and I choose face, nothing happens. It actually takes me back into object mode. You see, it takes me between object mode and component mode, but I cannot select the face. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say off. So be aware that oftentimes settings like symmetry or like the snap tools, if they're on, or soft select, if there's something on, sometimes Maya just misbehave because it doesn't really know what you want to do because there's this kind of extra. You can see now that I can select my eyes. That is pretty cool. Before I couldn't because of that symmetry. So I'm going to select the eyes, and what I'm going to do is, first of all, you should know that the eyeballs are generally separate, right? And they're not, you know, on, you know, I'm not going to make eyeballs out of these squares. What I'm going to make is eye sockets, and then the eyeballs are going to add it on inside the eye sockets. And the reason why oftentimes the eyes are separate is because with the eyes, you want to give it something called locator, that is an invisible element that you can move so that the eyes can follow it. So that's why the eyes tend to be independent creatures, because you oftentimes assign a shader to those eyes. It's called a ramp shader. So you start creating that center pupil because the ramp, it goes from white to black. The black is that center pupil, and then that center pupil can be parented to a locator. And when you move the locator, you animate the eyes. I know it doesn't make a ton of sense right now because we haven't done it yet. So you might have to have a little leap of faith, but trust me that what we do right now is actually create the sockets, not the eyeballs, okay? So how do you create the sockets? We go in extrude like we've done many times. And I'm gonna actually first kind of click on one of these squares. So this guy shows up and I'm gonna create this kind of like scale it in. And then I'm going to take that blue arrow and move it inward a little bit. So you see, we're starting creating the holes for the eyes. You can see that, right? I generally hit G and do it again. It means I do it a few times so that I kind of have like more geometry there. So it's going to become smoother. I don't want just one big block there. So I generally do it like depending on the character. This is a bare bone character, but I kind of do it a couple of times. You click on the box first, then you click on that center box that controls the overall, and then you move that element in a little bit more. So if you look right now, these looks like kind of what would be easy to call it eye sockets. You know, once we smooth everything and these squares becomes round, those are going to look like holes. In fact, if right now I go in here and I say object and I hit 3, that is the display mode that rounds everything up, you can see that they are definitely looking like holes. Pretty nice holes too. Nice and round, well defined. Life is good. I'm going to go back to 1 because it's easier to work in low selection mode. I'm going to take the nose and pop it out. So I'm going to go back into my face. I'm going to select these 2 faces that are my nose. And I'm going to basically hit extrude. And I'm going to rotate my model so I see what I'm doing. And I'm going to start pulling things out. And what I will eventually do is I'm obviously going to go in instead of this vertex mode. And I'm going to grab these two vertices and move those really out, right? And then I'm going to grab these two vertices up here, since generally nose don't have this kind of like step in there. And I'm going to pull them in. So my nose is starting to look more like a nose, right? And you can decide what to do with the middle, if you want a hump in the nose or not. I'm going to give it a little hump. I'm going to give it an Italian nose, guys, right? Now, obviously, if I was really in the mood, I can flare this out to make it a little bit wider, right? And create nostrils. I'm not right now. I'm going to just do the eyebrows and the mouth so that you see the overall process. But with kind of really a short amount of time and effort, I got the face to start shaping up. I haven't really smoothed the side as much as I wanted to, but as I said, it's okay. It means here is to just show you the process. You can see that these sides are still a bit boxy on this, but that's okay for now. What I might do here is I might add an edge loop. In fact, let me do it. So I can get rid of the boxiness by clicking on here. I'm adding a little definition so that this part is going to come in more and this one is a little bit less. You know, means let's add a little bit definition so we can get rid of that boxiness. So I'm going to show you this time a different way to go. So far we've been adding edge loops. But what I'm noticing that I don't like, because I'm kind of really, for me, is important to keep things continuous. Do you see that this edge ends here and then it starts back here again? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add actually the middle ones and then carve the mouth in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my object mode. Sorry. Object mode right here. And I'm going to go in this thing called multi-cut tool. The multi-cut tool, you remember we've used in the past, allows us to cut faces. It can be tricky. And that's why the other day I showed you how to use the split polygon tool by just coding it into the script editor, because the multi-cut has always been a little buggy to me. But no complaints. We can pull it off. We know other ways. You know, in Maya, you can always achieve everything multiple ways. I'm going to click on multi-cut and I'm going to click on here and on here. Hit the G. Oops. Sorry, it's still active. So actually you don't need to hit G. If it's still active, you should be able to just keep going. Now you can deactivate it. Okay, that's good, because now we have a continuous loop there that is sweet, and I can see here the shape of my mouth coming together.
Professor, I have a question. When you were doing the nose, did you just select the two faces and extrude out?
Yeah, and then I went in I took the vertices of the bottom part.
Okay.
And you know,
all
Jeremiah,
right, because
yeah, you can call me.
I was like, okay.
No,
I was like extruding out, and then like kind of the polygons like kind of overlapped together.
Yeah, no, you should not have them. If you want it, you should extrude without overlaps. You should just take that center and extrude it.
Okay,
and
so maybe like I should extrude it from the axis then.
Yeah. That's, oh, by the way, when you extrude, try to always use the arrows that are the 3 axes of Maya, the Y, X, and Z. Because if you do it just, you know, like go and click in the middle and pull it out, you don't really know which direction you're going, right? It's a lot harder to control. And it's up to you, but I would be totally content if you call me Enrica. It's up to you. If you prefer,
okay.
I'm okay with Enrica. It's good, even though it's hard to pronounce. But all right. So here, what I'm going to do here, and maybe I can show you, Jeremiah, right here. You can do it with the mouse. The mouse could be like just like the nose. But what you go and say, I want to select my faces. Oops, sorry. I held it, clicked it a second too long, and it went into a different face. So you can click on here. And then you go into your usual extrude. You see how lovely you have a custom shelf. You don't have to look for anything. And right now, honestly, I could do what I did with the nose and just use this blue arrow and pull it out. Do you see that? That's what I did with the nose. Or I could do what I taught you earlier, because with the mouth is a little bit like the eye socket, right? It tapers in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click on this box, and I have a center box that I scale in, and then I go in a little bit. Then I hit G, and I do the same thing. So I'm doing the same process of the basically eyes. And by the way, if you had done a multi-cut right there in the middle, you could have actually done what you would call the lips. It means I could have given it as much definition as I wanted, but I'm just trying to be quicker just because we've been talking for 2 hours already. You might be kind of tired of hearing my voice. So let me go in object mode right now and show you my little dude that is shaping up. The mouth looks pretty good. In fact, if I go in 3, as you can see, it looks like a human. Yay! And it was minimum effort, right? We haven't really spent a lifetime on this little guy. We've spent very little time, but it's looking pretty good. Could always look better, right? You can massage it more. But the next step is to show you the ear. So let's say I want this quad to be the ear down here, or back here even would be better. So I'm going to show you another tool that I need to find, because I don't have on my custom, that is called wedge, the wedge tool. Let me find it really quick. Let me know if you see it. Edit mesh, wedge, right here. I did Control Shift when I chose wedge, so it went on my shelf. So now I don't have to hunt for it, right? That is pretty sweet. So what you want to do is you want to wedge part of your geometry right now. And when you click on wedge, it should tell you, I don't see it right now because I always have stuff in the way. Oh, wait. So what you want to do is first, before you click on wedge, I apologize. Sometimes Zoom cut out my interface, so it gets a little bit frustrating because I don't see what I'm doing. Sorry, in fact, it's very frustrating right now. Anyway, so what you need to do is before you wedge it, you need to say what you want to wedge. But the problem is when you wedge something, you generally need a face and an edge. So you cannot just go in here and choose one or the other by right mouse clicking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to use multi, right? Do you see the multi? Multi means you can choose multiple things. Now, if you go on wedge, wait. What you need to do is first select the ear. I'm going to select this. And then you go on wedge and it tells you select the edge. No. Let me read the little direction down there. Select faces and one or more edges. So my mistake is I should have select the face. I should have select the edge. That is this one. I'm holding the shift key. And then I can go and wedge. You can see I don't wedge very, very often, guys. There it is. So you think, oh my God, what happened? You see what happened? It just wedged the two. Why don't we do it again together, since I got a little bit lost and I apologize. As I said, it's something that unless you use the command all the time is a little bit tricky. So I'm going to select my face. Oh, actually, let me start from the beginning. So if you have just everything in object mode, you want to right mouse click. Sorry, right mouse click and choose multi. Then select the face you want to wedge. Shift select the edge you want to use to wedge it. Then go on the wedge tool. And you'll see this weird interface that shows up there that says wedge angle. Now, our ears don't stick out 90 degrees, as you can imagine. So you can go in here and say, I want us to stick out more. I'm using the middle mouse button and dragging, and then make my ear tuck in, and I'm eyeballing right now. Obviously, I could go in there and click and type, but I think this is pretty good, 44. Or again, you can click in here and type 45, enter. Up to you. How many division do I need? I don't think I need 4. I might need, let's try with 2 or 3. 2 might be too boxy, so let's go with 3. By the way, I'm clicking on the field and middle mouse click and drag. So my mistake though, I did it only on one side. So my goodness, what am I thinking? Yes, I know someone has questions. Means if I had my symmetry on, I bet I could do it on both sides. So let me undo that and try with the symmetry on. Sarah, did you have a question? I could hear your voice.
Yeah, I couldn't find the wedge tool.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know where it exists.
I'm going to help you with that. I think is under mesh wedge or edit mesh wedge. Edit mesh wedge. Make sure you do Control or Command Shift while you let go, so it shows up on your custom shelf, because that's so convenient. I really don't like to hunt for the commands. I generally really do my. By the way, I still have a little hump here on the nose. I'm not sure I want it. What do you guys think? I'm going to go in here and I'm actually going to tell it that I want vertex. And I'm going to grab those two guys that make that step. I'm going to hit W. I'm going to tuck it in. I know it's kind of like no big deal, but I'm going to do it. I want a little bit of a better nose, right, for my little dude. Yep, there it is. All right, so let's do that ear that we were doing earlier. I'm going to go back to object mode, and I'm actually going to do something smart this time, huh? I'm going to make my symmetry happen, and I need the X symmetry, as you probably remember. So I'm going to click in here. Oops, sorry. I'm going to click in here and say Object X, and I'm going to go and right mouse click. I'm going to go in multi. I'm going to select my face. I'm going to want to check that the symmetry has kicked in. There it is. Then I'm going to shift click on the edge right here, right? Then I can do the wedge. Now I'm going to turn off the Object X now, because all I needed, maybe not. Sometimes Object X symmetry can get in the way, but let's try and let's see if it does. It means sometimes it interferes with commands behaving smoothly, but let's try it. Let's be brave. Oops, it did, huh? Did you guys see what happened? My ear went all funky. Ooh wee. Actually, I like it. Yeah, we could do it like that, guys. But that's because we had the Object X on. So I'm going to Control Z, and I'm going to actually turn this off and see what happens if I do it with this off, right? I'm going to hit, again, wedge. Still doing it like that. I think it's because we have those both selected. So let's finagle with the settings, though, and see what happens. So I can go in and say, yeah, I can straighten it up like a charm. Wow, that's beautiful. Maya is so amazing. Don't you guys think that? I love Maya. What a great thing. I don't like that it's all rotated so funky, and I don't like how much definition I have in there. So anyway, you get the picture. You can stick it out more or less, and obviously, what we can also do is after we do that, we want the ears to pop up more, to stick out more, even though I think they look more like ears like this than when they were sticking out a lot. But also we can go in and kind of move it. We can hit the W right now and see what happens if we do this. It moves the whole thing. So what we might want to do is we might want to go in the vertex, have my symmetry X, select the ones that we really want to move up that are just the ears vertices, right, guys? Let's make sure that they're selected on the other side too. Perfect. And now we can try to move them up and see what happens. So anyway, you get the picture that the wedge is really a good help to get this stuff to look right. I'm going to deselect actually the middle one here and move just these up. I kind of like better when we did the ear without the symmetry. As I said to you guys, sometimes the symmetry make things behave kind of weird. I'm straightening it up by using the, you see guys this? I'm using the scale tool to straighten up my ears and pop them out as well. It's kind of interesting. It's hard to pop them out, guys. So it's up to you if you wanted to do it with the symmetry on or off. I probably would go back to what I'm used to, because I don't like how things are intersecting there. It means it kind of messed up my ears enough that I don't like it. But, you know, it means they're a little bit too flat against the body of the dude right now. Let's see if I hit W or R. I'm actually playing right now to see what's the best thing to do. It's not allowing me to scale them out. So I would have to go and actually just move them. So I would have to do this to move them out. Okay, let's leave them like that for the sake of the moment, because what I want to show you with the ears is you have to still do the hole in the ears, right? You still want to do something that the ears have a hole in it, right? This right in here. And as you can imagine from what we've been doing in the past is you go in, you select the face, you click face, and then you go in and extrude, just like we've been doing it, right? And when you extrude, sorry, I'm going to select, sorry, the symmetry is messing things up. So I'm going to start again. Go in here, face, select the face, and select the face. I just don't like to have the symmetry on all the time because it can get things a little bit more tricky than. So you see, it creates this weird extrusion thing because I have both selected. My extrude now is in the middle. That is kind of weird, but let me see what I can do. I'm going to scale it in a little bit and see what happens. Galileo, do you need something? Oh, okay. All right, guys. So I'm not too stoked because I'm used to see my ears differently, but they're not bad. What? I have no idea. Sorry, my son Galileo is asking me a question. The little devil. Let me go back in object, but you see what we do basically. We shape our character with extrusions and things like that. And you can see it's starting to look, I still have to shape the ears better, the head better, but it's starting to look more and more like a real character. And I would have to do the same with the hands, right? With the hands, what I can do, and I'm going to go, I know you're probably tired to hear my voice is so much. I'm sorry.
Enrica, quick question.
Yes.
I accidentally hit like a hotkey or something, and now anytime that I do the shade smooth, it's like this, or the 3 view is the same as the 2 view. I can't get the base wireframe to go away now.
Let me think about it because I'm so used to have 1, 2, 3 like working normally. Let me try to just wait a minute. I'm almost done, and then can you show me and I'll play with it. It means I'll tell you click on this, click on that. I'll come up with something. Or another thing we can do is probably reset the controls, all the controls. Just let me finish because I'm so at the end of this, and then I'll get to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. I just want to show really quick. This is the last thing. I know, guys, you're tired, but let me show you one last thing of how to do the hands because it's really so effective. And I'm not going to even worry about selecting it. No, I'm actually doing that. I'm going to select it with the symmetry on. So I select on both sides. And then I'm going to turn it off because I don't like symmetry. Sometimes gets in the way of my commands. So you select, obviously, what you wanted, where we're basically want to extrude the hands here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that. I'm going to go in R. I'm going to click in here and kind of like scale it in. So I'm trying to make the hands be more like not tapered out as much, right? You see that? So I'm kind of playing a little bit like that. And right now, these are actually all really tapered out a lot. So I would have to finagle with it so that everything kind of tucks in. But imagine actually for now that my hands looks pretty good. It means they're all like this. It looked like a rectangle instead of a rhomb. You see, I made a rectangle. So now, and as I said, I would have to come in and tuck in the rest so that it's not tapering out so much. But for the sake of just now, let me show you just how you do the fingers. And I'm not going to do even as many fingers as we have, but just some fingers. So how do you do the hand? Let's go in object mode. Let's go on the multi-cut. And I'm going to cut the fingers out. So let's say I'm going to make 1, 2, 3 or 4 fingers. So I'm going to start clicking and clicking, and you could use the grid kind of, and then I'm going to let go. And multi-cut again means you could actually use nap tools or grids to kind of make it right. So here I have 1 finger and another finger, and then I'm going to go back into multi-cut. The in between is just the space between the finger, what I'm clicking on right now. And then I'm going to go in here and say click and click. Multi-cut. So I have 1, 2, 3. I need 1 more space and I'm done. There we are. All right. So now what I obviously need to do is select these faces and extrude them out, right? We kind of learned that gag by now. And that way we get the fingers. So I'm going to go and extrude. And I generally have I'm sorry, I don't right now, but I generally have an image plane that kind of guides me, so that I extrude up to the knuckles, and then I extrude up to the second set of knuckles, and et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of push this out. And oftentimes what I do is I also taper them in a little bit, right? In both directions like this. And then I hit G, that allows me to extrude again. And then I taper in again. Oops. I click on here, and then I click on the center and click and drag, so the overall tapers. And I hit G because we have 1, 2, and a third little piece, right? If you look at your hands, guys, you'll see that there's a third very, very kind of the skinniest part, the one that is the most like that. So you can see right now that, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go in object mode. And you can see that right now. Sorry, I don't know what I was doing on this end. I didn't pay any attention to the other side, obviously. But you can see that here I have a pretty nice, well-formed hand with 4 fingers. And here, this part, I could easily go in with a multi-cut. Say multi-cut. Click, for example, here and here to create a little bit of a division. Then use this and wedge it to become the thumb. So go in there and say multi. Select the face, shift click this part because that's what I'm wedging on, and then go on the wedge tool, and it's pulling out my thumb. That is what I really want, right? And let's say I'm going to leave it as it is right now. Then probably what I would want to do is scale it down a little bit. But the way I can do the scaling down is select this face, again, go and extrude, try to kind of like click on the box, click in the middle. So I kind of, no, I cannot do that. I need to extrude it a little bit and then taper it in, sorry. So I'm going to kind of extrude it a little bit and then do the box so that I can taper it in. So it is a smooth transition. Now, I know that you're thinking, oh, there is a lot more work to do, obviously, as this is just a quick start. But that's oftentimes how you get to your hand to be kind of boxed in before you do all the fine work. So that's kind of how you do hands. Oops, I'm actually using the wrong axis and I can tell. So sometimes just make sure you zoom out and you see what you're doing because it really helps. There we are. And I'm going to go in one of the boxes and taper it in. And obviously I have a problem because it shouldn't be so wide right there. So I'm going to eventually go in and hit vertex and select the vertices that I need to fuss with and move them in, tuck them in. I could have probably done better when I did the wedge to kind of not have as many division, but you can see you can really kind of start manipulating your hand to look the way you want it to look. And maybe the thumb is obviously too long, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's not a masterpiece, but it starts looking like a hand. And obviously when I select it, I forgot the ones in the bottom. So I have to tuck those in a little bit more too. And that's totally fine. It means you kind of start understanding what you need to do just by going around with your perspective, kind of manipulating things to end up the way you want them to end up. You kind of get a little bit of the picture. Be careful a little bit also what it means. Right now I forgot this piece. And so if be careful not to do pinches. Means right now what I'm doing is I'm messing things up because I forgot to select that one. So what I tend to do is I undo when I start seeing pinches and I make sure my selection is complete. Bottom line, you can do a whole lot in Maya just with simple extrusion and stuff. It's really, really amazing how powerful it is. So I would want it this time. I forgot this one back here. Oh my goodness. So before you do any pulling and shoving, make sure you look all around in your perspective view, just kind of do a nice check that you got selected everything that needed to be selected. I'm going to go in object mode. I'm going to hit 3. Obviously, my thumb is a little fat because I haven't really finished doing the finagling with that, but it's starting to shape up. Yeah, definitely. I messed up with the thumb. It's too long as well. So I would have to do a bit of maneuvering or just redo it more kind of mindful of the proportion. As I said to you earlier, the best you can do is have a guide. So have somewhere, like on the top view, for example, if right now we were in here and we went to the top, it it would have been really smart to have loaded an image plane in which, you know, we saw the hand. So we could really, when we were extruding the thumb, see the proportion of the thumb compared to the other finger. So forgive me, I don't have that right now, but it gives you a sense of how you can build your character quite effectively with just a simple tool we have learned so far. There's a lot more tool to go. I'm not telling you we are, you know, so close, but we're getting there compared to, you know, 3 weeks ago when we started Maya. We're getting there, but it's really, really nice. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop the recording and then help you out, guys.